Alright, hello Howard. This is my Project 2 command line project video for part 3, creation of a YouTube video displaying all of the fancy new things we've learned for Project 2. I'm going to bring in this here is the document from which I did my work. So we have here all the guidelines, okay, we can, apparently PDFs don't enjoy having, there we go, okay. So all that is everything that I have actually put into a handy dandy Word file and will be compiling into a file on my partition for the Unix server. In this video, I will be demonstrating my ability to navigate paths, manipulate a directory, changing file permissions, the command syntax of various commands, piping, redirection, and multiple commands on one line, using wildcards, file creation, moving and copying files, using meta characters or a combination of keys to do a thing, and then changing the password as a final option. So let's also go ahead and show you the file that I have so far. It is not pretty, but it gets the job done. I'll go give a brief walkthrough here and then go ahead and do a walkthrough on the server to show that the commands actually work. So we start off with making the directory, and actually I'm going to do something a little fancy here so we can watch both of these at once. I am using dual screen, so I can't just flip this over, so I apologize for taking the extra time on that. Make sure that's at least somewhat easy to read. Maybe not that easy. There we go. Okay, so step 1 is to create a root directory in CSS. I realized I did this backwards. There we go. So called sandbox that contains the following directory structure. So we're going to make our root folder, which I'm assuming in the file we're starting in, because we're going to be placing it there. So we're going to make a directory, sandbox, that creates the directory. We're going to then change into that directory and make all of our subdirectories as specified. Root, which in this case is the sandbox folder, CSS images and scripts. We have CSS images and scripts. Next we have making a file named index.html must also be created in, okay, that's a little choppy, but I think basically it has to also go in the root directory, which we aren't changing the directory we're in, so it's also in sandbox here. We're making cat index.html creates that. Then we have the next bit here, which is a copy of logo 1 and logo 2. Both PNG images must be copied from var www images, which is a folder off of the actual root folder, which I had to find. And basically we're going to have to make a copy of those into our our de facto root folder of sandbox. So what I'm doing is, from our current position inside sandbox, I'm backing up 1 to my home directory, backing up another out to the root directory of all of the students in the administrator account folder. I believe it is called home. Either home or just I don't remember the name for it, but I do remember that it is two back. Then we're going back down the list. We're going into the var folder, the www images, and then we're getting our actual logo PNG space, and now we're in back referencing the folder we're currently in, the directory we're currently in, which is sandbox. We're making logo 1 PNG, so we're not changing the name at all. We're just doing a straight copy, which is what this command is, and we're doing that for both images. It's the exact same command, except for the file we're taking and copying is different. Next up, we are going to be changing all files and directories must be set to read-only for everyone except for the root user, which should be set to full control. So that means we need to give full control, both read, write, and execute access to the root folder, but not to anybody else. So we're using chmod, or chmod, or however you want to pronounce it, 700 to denote that the root access gets everything and everybody else gets nothing. So both owner and everybody who's not part of the group for that file gets nothing. And then we're applying it to sandbox, and this is the part where it gets a little unwieldy, but like I said, this is a quick and dirty file. It's not as beautiful as I'd like it to be. Then we're going to change our directory to oh, sorry, I forgot that. What we're doing, and actually I copied that twice, so apologize. That was an earlier edition. There we go. That's what it looks like. So now we're backing up out a sandbox to make sandbox itself only accessible by root. Then we're going to go back into sandbox, and we're going to apply the same settings to CSS. We're using the semicolon here to put commands on the same line, to do that to CSS, images, and scripts, and then we're going to apply it to both of those pictures as well, as it says in the instructions, to go ahead and make sure that all subdirectories and folders are done. And I went ahead and just applied that to all files, as that would make sense. Next up, we have a file called web listing in sandbox root. So again, we're going to go back to sandbox root that contains the redirected output of the directory listing or of sandbox root and subfolders. So what's that mean? It means that we are going to go ahead and be making a file, and in the process of making that file, we're going to be outputting the list commands, basically output into that file. But we don't want it just for the sandbox root. We want it for sandbox, CSS, images, and scripts. And the way we do that is with, wherever it is, let me double check my reference sheet here. I apologize. Yes, okay. So basically we're using these carets here, and the double caret says that if the file doesn't exist, it will make it, and then if the file does exist, we're appending the information onto that file. So what we're doing is we are taking, since we're in sandbox here, the last change directory did put us into sandbox, we're doing a list all, so we're seeing everything, and we're doing the full detailed list of everything in the folder. So it's not just hidden files, but it's hidden files, the time, date, everything else. And the permissions for those files as well. And we're redirecting that output into web listing here. And then we're going to drop down into CSS, and we're going to do the same thing, but since we're doing it with these double carets, it's not going to make a new file. It is going to be appending that file. So we're going to have everything from sandbox, then everything from CSS, then everything from images, and they're all getting added to web listing. You notice here how I was just going to web listing because it's in sandbox here. And now that we're not in folder, now that we're not in directory sandbox, I have to go up a folder and then down and then access that file, because otherwise it's going to make a new one. I don't want 3 copies, I just want 1 copy of the same thing. And, excuse me, lastly, what we're going to do, then we got the web listing there. So the last thing here is to create a file called avail images in sandbox root that contains the redirected output of the directory listing of the so basically we're going into the images folder that everybody has access to. We're giving a directory listing of everything that's in there, but we only want results for images or for things that have the ending of .png. So the way I accomplished this was I navigated, actually I need to add a new bit there, because we don't want to make this in scripts, we want to make this in into our sandbox folder, so that should take care of that there. So now we're back in sandbox, and what we're going to do is we're getting an ls, we're getting everything, and actually this should be lsal there. Actually no, I think that'll give us what we want. So we want to get listing everything. Yep, because we're just doing the basic directory listing. So we're getting the directory listing here of everything that is in the following folder. So we're going up to, again, variable var www images, and now we have a wildcard symbol here with this little star. That means that any number up to 0 or more, or how many ever of characters will be ignored, but they're just going to be accepted, whatever they are, and then everything after that is going to count. So if it has anything followed by a .png and nothing else, that is annoying, it is going to be output into this. Now instead of going to the screen, I'm using a piping system here with the, I forget what you call this, but basically it pipes one command as the output of another. And basically we're using this command as the argument for this one here, where we were going to use cat, and then we're going to go ahead and drop everything into avail images. And since we're in the sandbox folder, again, everything should be outputted to the sandbox folder. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of this in the wild. So we're going to go ahead, so we know what we're already doing over here, so let's go ahead and, nope, bear with me again, this is more art than science. Okay, so what we're going to do, as you can see, I'm in my root folder here. And if we go do ahead a list everything, I just have a file there called create, which we're going to be filling with our commands when we're done. And if we do ls all, we see a awesome little bit there. So what we're doing is we're not going to have that be there. There we go, that's what I want. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this here, copy it, drop it in, make directory sandbox, we do an ls to see, and we have a new directory here, which is, for me, kind of hard to read, but it is, because it's in really dark blue, my monitor's angle is all funny, but it does say it does say sandbox. So then we're going to do the next command, which is cd sandbox. And we're going to drop into sandbox, and as you can see, there is nothing except for the there's nothing that I've created that's in this folder. Just default stuff. So we're going to do this in rather rapid succession because we both, these are pretty simple commands here, we know what they do. Yes, they're going to go ahead and make all three of these folders like we're supposed to do. And now we do the list al again, we'll see we have 3 different folders. We have CSS, images, and scripts, just like we wanted. Next, we're going to do cat index.html, and in the actual shell, this gets a little different, because you don't just put that in like that, because you can't just do that. It's actually, and actually I forgot a bit, because apparently I like to forget things. There we go. We have to do cat, little caret. Let me do index.html, and did I spell that wrong? Yeah, okay, can't put 2 cats, that doesn't work that way. Let's try this one more time. Index.html, bam, does it. We take a look. Oh, derp, I'm an idiot. So now we're putting stuff in the file. We don't necessarily want anything in there, so we're just going to put Control D. Again, this is showing that we have a combination character or a meta key to get us out of it. And now if I do lsal, we'll see a file, and if we use vi to go ahead and take a look at it, we should see the little bit of code that, or a little bit of stuff I put in there by accident, lsal, which we'll just delete and save using a wq, which will get us out of that. And now if we go back into there, there is nothing, so we're good. Alright, apologize about that. I do have a cold, as I think I said in the beginning of the video, and it is going to get in the way a little bit. So where did we leave off? We left off at creation of the index.html. So next we have to go and we have to copy our files into Sandbox here. So we're going to take our next command, drop it in, and I got it wrong. Did I? Ah, that's it. I think I have one too few. That was it. So we do another ls. Yep, that's the folder we want. Okay, so now I know which command we need to use. We need to go down to home, cdmf. Okay, now we're back in there. Then we see sandbox. That was my problem. I was operating under the assumption that I was in the actual root for myself, but I'm not. So we need to have one extra here, and that is not the order in which that goes. There we go. That should now give us something a little usable, and it works just fine. If we do an ls, display everything, I can type, I promise. There we go. Okay, so we have logo 1 is now in that folder. That's exactly what we wanted. And so now if we take the second one, we should get identical output, except for the fact that I messed up again. What is wrong here? Looks exactly the same, doesn't it? Oh, there we go. That's our problem. Sneaky little book devil. Try it again. Hey, look, it works that time. Helps so we don't spell things wrong. So now we have logo in both in the sandbox, exactly what we wanted it to be. Next up, we're going to go ahead and get back up a directory. So we're now looking down on Sandbox, and we're going to go ahead and change the permissions for Sandbox so that only the root access has access to it. So we go ls al, and we look at our Sandbox folder here. Everybody can do everything to it. There we have read, write, and direct read access to everything. We don't want that. We just want to make sure that root is the only one who does. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and type in chmod 700 or 700 for full access for the root user, and then none for the owner and none for the extra anybody else. We type in the name of our thing we want, which in this case is Sandbox, and then we do another LSAL, and now we look at Sandbox, and it only has read-write access for that first person, but not for anybody else going along. See, it stops right there, and everybody else has nothing, which is exactly what we wanted. So now we're going to go ahead and do something a little bit boring here, but hopefully my command separation works, so we can type this in all in one line. That is not what I wanted to do, was it? No, it was not. I'm reading the wrong thing. There we go. Now we're back inside Sandbox. If we do this to everything, moment of truth, it works. We look at LSAL. So logo 1 and logo 2 only have that. All of our folders only have read-write access to the root. And if we go in there, anything that was in there would also have those because we assigned everything. But there is nothing in them, so they didn't. But if we did, we would have appended it, and all would be well. So next up, we have, we're going to go ahead and put, and now let me go back just to make sure I got this at the right spot. So we got that in there. We changed all that. Create a file. We have web listing in Sandbox root, which we are currently in. It contains the redirected output. Okay, so yes, we are in the right spot. Good. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to take the ls command, but we're going to route it into web listing using a redirection. So this is going to make a file in Sandbox called web listing, and it's going to output everything from this command in there. So we type that, and of course it's not, because apparently I am not doing the AL right. And do I need the AL in there for this particular scenario? It does not specify, so I apologize if I'm doing this incorrectly. However, I am going to remove that from there and call it good. If I'm doing that wrong, this is, again, I'll ask this in class and try to figure out why that doesn't work, but I'm not 100% sure why. So we're going to do that. We're going to do web listing. Now it works, so we do LSAL. We'll see that we have a new file called web listing, and again, if we go in there with web listing, the VI, we'll see that it outputs everything we've got under just the basic list command. So let's go ahead and you get back out of that. Okay, so that works there. Let's go ahead and make sure that's changed so that we know that there. Did I want it in CSS? Oh, great, now I'm confusing myself. No, we did not. So I actually have an erroneous command in here. We do not need this in any case, because we don't want to be in CSS. So now, what we're going to do is, what is all the other stuff I have in there? That is neat, because I don't remember needing all this stuff. We have ls web listing, cd images, lss web listing, and does it have to go? No, it does not. I have just a bunch of erroneous commands in here for whatever reason. So we have ls web listing, it's in Sandbox, we know that already. Next up, what we're going to do is, why are we packing in and out? I'm not sure what I had some weird stuff going on here, because there's multiple versions of the same command. I'm not really sure why. I think I got a little confused while typing, but in any case, we are still exactly where we need to be. So now onto the last command, and I did this one a little bit differently. Again, I could have done this one with redirection. However, I chose to do it with piping because I figure why do an extra demonstration with piping when I could just do 2 times and show 2 things rather than do 2 times and show 1 thing and have to do an extra part. I figure that's not very efficient. So what I've done here is I have the ls command again, and I am backing out. Now I am aware now that I have to add an extra set of that, or it's not going to work from up the commands up here. So because learning is good. So you have the list command here. We're backing out up to the root directory for everybody. We're going down to variables, or var, www images, and then we're going to put a wildcard in here. And this is going to say anything that comes before this, ignore it. It's just, we're not going to pay attention to it. And the only things we're going to care about is everything that comes after .png. So basically, what this is saying is anything that ends with a .png is what we're searching for. And then again, we're going to use this piping character here. And again, I forget, it's the solid bar. I don't actually know what the key is called. It's the / key, but I don't know what the actual character is called. But basically, we're using that to pipe one command as the argument for another. So what we're doing in this case is we're going to take the ls command, and we're basically rerouting it, or piping it, or rather we're doing it the other way around. We're piping the cat command as an argument to the ls command, where instead of just the default, hey, we're pumping it out to the shell, we're going to be using it into pumping it into this thing, which also takes input into it and says, hey, we're going to put it into available images. So if I copy this, and with a bit of luck, if I'm correct, we're going to go ahead and get a perfect write, because finally something works the way I intended it to. We see that available images is in there, and we go ahead and do again in vi, or vi. I want to keep wanting to call it vi. I think I'm just going to call it that for myself, although that's going to get me in trouble with other people, but I don't care. Actually, I do. That is not a file, because I typed image, not images. So we're going to go back out. That is not a thing. We're going to type vi, because I'm being compliant with the standard images. There we go. And we see that we have the output of those files in that folder structure. Now, I am not exactly certain how to get this to just pump out this part here. I'm sure there's a fancy way to do it, and we probably covered it, but I don't remember it exactly. However, I believe this does meet the qualifications, so it does say show the files at .png, and it does show them on the relative file path. It is not an absolute path, and it is not a shortened path of just showing logo1.png and logo2.png, but I do believe that it does suffice for the instructions for this particular assignment. So anyway, that's the instructions in this file. If I were to take this file, boil it down into an actual file in vi, and then make it an executable, you could run this one file together, and it would do all of the things we've done in this instruction. I don't know if you actually want the file on our server, but I will go ahead and put it on there just in case. And that, I believe, let me just make sure I hit all the bullet points here. We did path navigation. I can manipulate the directories. I changed file permissions. I've shown what command syntax is and how to operate it. Basically, how do I structure a command and how do I put special arguments in it with ls and the al. We have piping, redirection, and multiple commands in one line. I showed all of those. I showed how to use a wildcard. I have created files. I've moved them. I've copied them. Moving and copying are kind of the same thing. If we want to be particular, there is the mv command or move command, which we show here. Shows all the options you can do are... Alright, mv/less help. Shows all the different things we can do with the move command. I didn't do it because I didn't want to actually pull the files out of there. I didn't know if I could do that or not, so I just used the copy. I'm not going to use that on the actual server because I don't want to screw anything up for other people, but I am aware of what to do. Would be exactly the same as the commands here. It'd be, except instead of, it'd just be mv. We'd just be moving this file instead of copying it. Lastly, we have meta characters, which I displayed when I was actually inputting, what was it? The cat here, when we were making the index. I displayed that to get out of that, to close out to what I want to put into the file, because cat basically looks for the name, and then once you hit enter, you can enter whatever you want to the file, and then you hit enter again, and it keeps going and going and going. You can hit Control D to get out of that. Similarly, there's also things like Control X. Control C does not exist. I do not believe. I think that's what I remember from class. But basically, it's the meta characters are a combination of those things, and they're a little hard for me to show on here. I can't think of a good way to have them show up on the screen, but I did use them during this presentation. And lastly, but not least, we can change our passwords. So we can type in pass wd, and we are said here change the password for the user. So I have to type in my current user password there, and then it's going to ask me for a new password. Now, I could change it. I don't want to have to remember a new one, so I can go ahead and type in whatever I like here. I believe when I tried it before, it does want it to be over 7 characters long, and as I said, I don't want to have to remember something new, so I'm just going to enter through it until it kicks me out. There we go. It has said that I can't type in anymore because blank passwords are not good. But this is the command, and if I wanted to, I could type in a new password, and it would go ahead and switch that up for me. But like I said, I don't want to actually change my password on this account. So that is, I believe, all the bullet points on the side here. I'll be supplying a Gantt chart along with this, and I believe that concludes this video. Thank you for watching.